Hey, movie fans, it's been a while now, so I guess that by now you have all seen Captain America Civil War. So it's time for some spoilers. So this is your fair warning. This is going to be a spoiler video. All right. So, well, unless you don't care and you still want to see it, great. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, the way I like to do reviews with movies is the first review is usually just a review of the movie, how I felt about the movie in general, whether I give it, I give it a rating. And in the spoiler video, I like to go in depth into more than just the movie aspect of it, and we tend to touch on some of the other levels, maybe spiritual, maybe political, but see overall what is the message. You can see I'm trying a new mic today, so hopefully we'll be getting rid of those audio problems that we had in the other videos. Let's see how it goes. Um, okay, so if you've seen the previous video, and I hope you have, I love the movie. The movie was really, really great. It was really fun. It was full of Easter eggs, great fun for all the movie fans, the comic fans out there. Uh, Marvel fans, rejoice. DC fans, we watch and we go like, man, that was good. I wish we could do something like that. So the movie was great. I gave it my highest rating, wicked good, as a movie goes. Um, let's discuss some spoilers. Um, I didn't want to touch too much on Spider-Man in the first video, but Spider-Man was great not just because he's back on the big screen. We love Spidey being back, but Tom Holland is embodying the Spider-Man that we've been wanting and yearning for so long. Some of the younger fans have come to me and say, I'm not sure I like this Spider-Man because he's just a kid, and I'm like, yes, you're young, too young to remember that the original Spider-Man was just a teenager, and in the original comics, um, he was a teenager, and uh, it took Peter a few years in the comic books to actually make it out of school, go to college, and eventually start working at the Daily Bugle, and become an adult and have the adventures that we know now are uh, more commonly known. But that's how it started, and it's such a great aspect to the movie because lately all of the movies have been this adult heroes, full grown into their whole potential, uh that are inspiring, and as fans, as young kids, we can look up to and go like, one day I can get to be like that. But Spidey is like, nah, you can already be a hero even if you're a little nerdy. If you're too young, you can still be a hero. So I really love that part of it. The suit, it totally makes sense why it is the way it is. It's a Tony Stark gift, so I'm sure there's technology involved in it. We still haven't seen all of it, and I love the last scene, the post-credit scene. If you're watching this video and you don't care about spoilers, and you still haven't gone seen the movie, make sure you stay all the way through the credits because there's a mid-credit scene and there's a post-credit scene. The post-credit scene is Spidey, and with he has the web shooters, uh, and Tony Stark gave him like the logo Spider-Man thing on the roof, and then he says Spider-Man will return, and at this point I was like, yes, because I love Spider-Man. Again, Superman is my number one guy. Um, I'm more of a DC guy, but it doesn't mean I hate on Marvel or I hate Marvel characters. Spider-Man is my number one character in Marvel, and I just loved, I geeked out with Spider-Man in the movie. Tom Holland is doing an amazing job. He was funny, the right kind of funny. The comedy didn't seem forced, as in some of the previous movies where they tried the comedy, but they had already established Peter as being a broodier, kind of emo. I don't like to use that term, but the angst teenager. Um, that I thought it was all right, but this Spider-Man is a lot more on point, and I loved every aspect of it. In the fights, he's being a kid, he's fanboying over these heroes, pretty much like Ant-Man does. I love the Ant-Man thing when he goes like, Captain America, and he's geeking out, he's fanboying, and you know, Spider-Man, Peter Parker here is a little teenager who's fanboying. He's like looking at these heroes that he's probably been watching on TV, and as it's been established in this movie, Spider-Man's been Spider-Man for about 6 months only. So he's seen Captain America and Iron Man and all these guys on TV, hearing the stories, probably kids wanting to be them on the playgrounds, and now he's there with them in the fight. So that was really, really, really awesome. Um, we didn't talk about Aunt May in the original video. I just said that there's a character here that you're not expecting to be this cute, this hot, this sexy, and that's Aunt May. Aunt May, yeah, Aunt May, man, looking really cute. Marisa Tomei. I remember when I reported the news on our fan page, and I was like, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off. I mean, she's cute and all, but let's see how it goes in the movie. It went great. It went great, and I see what they're doing. They're going with since they're going with a younger version of Spider-Man. There has to be a younger version of Aunt May, and it totally makes sense. It's very similar to what they did on Smallville, when the producers made Pa and Ma not like grandparent figures, but younger parents because they needed to be more of an influence on Clark. So it makes total sense that they would go also with a younger Aunt May. Um, and they decided to go not only with a younger anime but a really attractive anime. And again, everyone in this movie looks just very very attractive, and all the girls are like, wow, they're great in every scene. Love them. Great photography. Congratulations, Russo brothers. You know how to shoot a film. By the way, that brings me to another point that I didn't discuss too much in the original review. If you're studying film and you want to be an action director, you can study this film a lot because there are so many well shot scenes, not just in the action sequences, but every other scene in between is very well shot. There was a little bit of shaky cam at the beginning, and I guess through the dailies and through the early editing, they were like, you know what? Let's not abuse this. People are already getting sick of it. Let's go back to a wider shot where people can actually appreciate the action, and I appreciate that as an audience. So that's also something that you can admire in this film is the technical aspect of it. Um, Whenever I talk to some of my students, we were working on storytelling for a bit, and we talked about the three levels of storytelling and how books, TV shows, movies, they have three levels of storytelling. The first level being, in this case of a movie, the cinematic experience, the audio visual, the visual aspect of it, the special effects, the custom design, the set design, the cinematography, the photography, um, the audio mixing, the soundtrack, the score, the way everything was cut together. Usually, when this is done well, an audience that has not someone, how should I put it, not with a well-developed taste uh, for filmmaking would be fooled into thinking it's a great movie. I remember some of my friends going to see some of the very, very terrible Transformer movies and saying, "Oh my gosh, that movie was great! Oh, I loved it, best movie of the year." And I totally respect their opinion. They have the right to like whatever they want to like. But as someone who wants more out of a movie, this is not enough to convince me. This is not enough for me to say I want to go back and see the next one. Um, because the second level is more important, the narrative. So in Captain America Civil War, the first level, the cinematic experience, the visuals, the audio, everything is super, super awesome. It's a 10. It's wicked good for me. It's really, really well done. You have a pleasurable experience with this film. Now, the second level, the narrative, also very, very well handled. Um, there aren't that many plot holes, and the little ones that are there are not enough to distract you. They're more of a, you know what, but they still could have gotten around this and end up in the same place. I'm talking more about the bad guy in this movie, whose um, motivations to be the bad guy and manipulate these guys into fighting each other, although are understandable, we could have really done without him in the film, and I think the characters would have eventually ended up in the same place. Watching it for the second time, I was like, yeah, I can see it now. Like, yeah, maybe someone like maybe if I went through something like that, I would probably wanna make him pay. But in the end, it was, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that bad. It is what it is. It's there, and it's not a big deal, because the rest of the narrative is actually very good. They did a great job in taking you through the narrative, through the acts, in a way that it makes sense for them to come to blows. It's not just like it happened, and I'm sorry that I have to say it, but in Batman v Superman, where they kept selling us during marketing that Batman was going to fight um, Superman because it's a Batman versus Superman film, and in the end, it was like, so I guess I gotta fight you now. Let's fight. It made no sense. It felt really like a marketing ploy where they just wanted us to go sit there with the promise of a great story that it fell flat. At least it did for me in the narrative. But in this case, you see the arguments. Like, I actually asked some of you guys to see if you could get the reference. I was wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey. I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan. Um, and I was wearing a Roger Staubach jersey, number 12. And Roger Staubach back in the 60s, his nickname was Captain America. So I was Captain America going into the film. And as the film progressed, I was like, oh, I can totally see Tony Stark's point of view here. And I would actually go like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You have a great point there. I'd be naive and stubborn not to see and try and understand your your point of view. But in the end, I'm still siding with Captain America. Um, because at least he has pure intentions. The Tony Stark point of view of politics getting involved, it makes sense, but many times that's the problem. Politics makes sense on paper, but not on real life, which is going to take us to the third level. All right. So the narrative is really great. Everything is well handled. The plot twists in the end, um, you can go like, oh no, when when Tony Stark finds out that it was Bucky who killed his parents, and now I gotta kill you, and then we get that awesome uh page comic book homage in the Iron Man versus Captain America, with the shield and everything. That was a great scene, a great shot. That whole scene is really well handled, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end, both the audio-visual experience, as well as the narrative. I was not distracted. I wasn't, because there are other movies when you're in the middle of the movie, you're like, what? No, that makes no sense. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? In this movie, it's like, I get it, I get it. And like I mentioned, there's this scene at the airport when they're fighting, and Hawkeye and Black Widow are in a fight, and then Black Widow's like, we're still friends, right? Because you can totally get that these guys are like coming to blows not because they have to fight, but because it's like the situation is getting out of control, and they're like, we gotta let this guy go and do this thing, and the other guys are like, no, we can't let them just go away and do this thing. Captain America is trying to take off and go on this mission and take Bucky along with him. Iron Man is like, no, you can't go. I can't let you just go and do whatever you want. So that's the actual reasoning behind, no, like, dude, like, I can see myself, if one of my friends wanted to do something that I would think would be in any way harmful for them, and I would be like, dude, I would put my hand on his shoulder like, no, don't do this, don't go. And I can see why my friend would be like, Rick, and he would put his hand on my chest and be like, you gotta get out of my way now, because I gotta do this. So they handled it very well. There's a reason why they eventually had to come to blows, and that whole scene is great. I love Ant-Man, all his lines, all the comic. Like I said, it was landing. It was such a well-written and structured story that you have just a great time at the movies. All right. So on the second level, the narrative is also super wicked good and is great. A perfect 10 is it's really fun, really enjoyable. Now, if you stayed this long and this is what you were waiting for, here we go. Things get dark. The third level, where there's an actual message, there's an actual agenda. There is the one thing the directors and producers want to tell us, and as I tell my students, this is where you need to pay close attention because every movie, everything that you see on a screen is told through the eyes of the director and producers. It's not an unbiased, subjective point of view. No, it's always going to be biased, and people are going to try and tell you something. What is that something? Sometimes that message is very clear and very positive. Sometimes the message is a very clever message. Uh, Wrapped in clues that you got to figure out, but in the end, it's really fun trying to figure out all those things and say, oh, that's what it is, and I see it. That's fun. Some directors and producers are very, very creative uh, because they want you to figure out what the message is and they leave you clues, and that's fun. I love those kind of movies. And other films, unfortunately, they do have a hidden agenda, pretty much like this movie saying, politicians um, when they do something is because they have some interests that they want to protect, and they use their influence in politics to send us a message. What is the message here? Well, it's very, very complicated. If you saw the spoiler video for Batman v Superman, it was very spiritual. It was very um, Satan versus God, humanity doesn't need a God. We can be gods ourselves. We can save ourselves from anything. We don't need a supreme being coming down because those guys are actually bad. So it was like a very straight attack on the Bible, very spiritual. Um, that if you're a Christian, you go and you watch, and there are times when you're like, I'm not comfortable with this. Um, However, on Captain America Civil War, the message feels more political and there's like a Freemasonic agenda here. Yes, I said it. And if you're gonna be like, oh no, these guys again, listen, I just recently started finding out about these things. I just recently had my eyes open and I am beginning to see things here. And like I said, nothing in this movie is a coincidence. Everything that you see on the shot is there for a reason. When they make a movie, they don't go into a room and say, oh, we could shoot a scene here. Let's just bring our cameras and film everything as is. No. Set design, custom design, locations, everything is designed to fit a particular vision. Everything that you see in the background, on all over the screen, things that are not very obvious, not in the forefront, um, they are there for a reason because they know we are watching, that our eyes are catching those things. Um, so there's a lot of stuff that I had to watch this film twice and I still didn't get everything and I was overwhelmed by how much you can find in the movie once you actually forget a little bit about the movie and you just start looking and picking and seeing every little thing that is hidden there. And from the beginning, if you're a little bit familiar with the Freemasons at this point, their symbology, they're very esoteric and they have the two columns, the red and the blue, coming together, clashing together to give birth to a new column, the blue and the red coming together, colliding. And from the poster, you can see there's if you saw it in the other video, maybe I'll put it here in this video. You can see the red and the blue, Captain America versus Iron Man coming together. Are they trying to say, yes, we're trying to bring these columns together. We're trying to destroy the old, come in with the new, very similar, very reminiscent of the Twin Towers. I know a lot of people don't want to believe this, but at this point, there's so much evidence out there. And it's not just people saying, this is what I think happened. No, just people say, listen, I found this video, this footage of real people who were there. Watch it, listen to this. And you have to go like, oh my gosh, I don't, at this point, it's like, if you don't see it, you don't want to see it because it's there. So I see a lot of that in this movie. Are they saying we want America to come head to head with this other type of thinking and bring about a new order? where the civil liberties of America are taken away to bring in a new kind of order with the best interest of everybody at heart. I see that. There's in the opening scene, there's very small, very quick things that happen because it's an action sequence at the beginning, where Captain America and Black Widow and Wanda and all the guys are going in looking for crossbones, and you see the black and white Masonic floors. Um, Captain America is at a window and there's like a little curtain, little see-through curtain with the fleur de lis. You know that little symbol like from the New Orleans Saints, that little French flower thing. Um, do the research, see what that's all about. It's there, and like I said, someone took the time that when they were preparing the shot and illuminating and the set design, someone said, "We're gonna have this curtain with these little flowers here in the background." So at this point, it's very subtle. Might be a coincidence. Maybe someone just said, "Oh, this is a nice little curtain. Let's put it there." All right, let's say that's what happens. All right. But there's also at the beginning of the movie the whole MK Ultra programming. For those of you who are not very familiar with this, it's a CIA program where they torture people until they finally got their personalities to split two completely different persons that could carry out missions for them. And this is something that is scary, is so scary because they are still doing this now, not with soldiers, with people in entertainment, actors, singers, uh, athletes. Why? So that they can manipulate the masses with the influence of these people. And unfortunately, right now, like I said, it's not just people saying, I think this is what's happening because I'm paranoid. Guys, the web is filled with these videos that you can just go and do your own research. And as crazy as it sounds, there's so much going on. And that's why the Hollywood industry, which is dominated by these Luciferians and people that are devil worshippers, because there's no other word for it, are in control of. So, of course, they're going to try and push their agenda, their ideas on people. And when people start questioning things, what's an easier way than to put it in movies and make it look like something fake, something funny, something ridiculous, so that when people bring the topic, you can say, "You're crazy, that's just a movie. That's comic books. That's not real. That can't happen." That's why they're doing it. That's why they put it in films, in comic books, so we don't question it when it's brought up. And when someone brings it up, that person looks dumb, stupid, paranoid, because we cannot fathom the thought that something as terrible as this could happen. And we can see, unfortunately, the character of Bucky, who is being tortured and his personality is being split. And just like the MK Ultra program, they have these wars that detonate the alternate personality on Bucky. You can see him suffering. You can see his personality being split. And how do they use him? For terrorist acts, to do terrible things. So this is there, and it's in the forefront. They're not playing with it. They're showing us, and they use this as part of the driving force in the plot, in the story. So you gotta be really thinking about what's going on because then by now we're familiar with the false flag agendas where terrorists attack and hurt innocent people, and this forces our good leaders to have to take measures and start suppressing certain liberties um, for the well-being of people. And we see a false flag on the United Nations, which is another evil organization that at some point is going to politically uh, be behind the one world government that they are so desperately trying to uh, install and put into motion very, very soon. And we see that all throughout the movie. By the way, I'm looking at my notes here. All right, so don't judge me. This is a review video, by the way, so I had to take notes. It's not like the unfiltered episodes. Um, then there is the whole numbers things that you find. There's in the scene where they capture Bucky, and he's in this cell that looks like a little cubicle thing, like this pod. Again, set design. It's not like they found these things lying around and hey, let's use this and put the Bucky character inside and it's because it's gonna look cool. No, they went through set design. They designed this spot, this prison box. They painted it. They designed it for the movie, and there's a very prominent number 23 on it. Again, do your research. 23 is an important esoteric number for the Freemasons, for the Illuminati. It's an evil number that they put there, and it's not just like it's in the back there, in the back somewhere a long line of numbers. No, it's just the big giant 23 on this particular box that we see prominently displayed. So now I'm like, oh, okay, there's too many coincidences in this movie. So what are they trying to say? Then there's this other thing that happens with, Captain America, the character of, Aunt Peggy as Agent Hottie 13 was calling, what was her name, Maggie. Um, she dies, and we know that from Captain America history that they had something that Captain America really cared about this character. Um, and she dies. Captain America has been frozen, so he's in present times, but she aged normally, and she's been very old and sick for the past few movies. Um, the friendship still there, and Captain still cares about her. So in the middle of this discussion that they're having, someone texts Cap saying she passed away in her sleep. So we cut to the next scene, and he's at the funeral, and it's a very sad scene. And this is where he finds out that Agent 13, who was in charge of looking after him in the previous movie, is actually related to Maggie. But this is where again, if you just watch this scene and with the context and everything that is happening, you just go like, oh, she died, and they're bringing her in, and Cap is sad. What's this gonna mean going forward for the character? But by now, I'm not watching the movie for this. I'm watching for secret messages. She was in the military for England, so it's customary, it's protocol that when um, someone who served in the forces, in the Royal Armed Forces, passes away, the casket is covered with the Union Jack, the flag of England now, not the white with the red cross, but the Union Jack, the one that has all the red, the white, and the blue. And at this point, I'm thinking, does this are they representing the death of England? Because right now, the religion that is more prominent around the world is the Catholic faith. A lot of my family is Catholic. Some of my best friends are Catholic, so this is not an attack on your religion. It's just an observation of this particular scene. That being that the Catholic Church is so prominent and most people in Christianity profess Catholicism, I was wondering why didn't they make this scene happen at a Catholic church? It happens at a Christian evangelical church because you can see the Christian evangelical flag in the back when they are at the service. So I'm thinking, are they saying that the nation that represented the Christian evangelical church for so many years in Europe is now dead? Is that what they're saying? Is that the message? Is that the symbolism? Because on the other side, we see how Captain America is slowly losing the fight. And are they saying, are the two greatest nations that have represented freedom, liberty, and Christianity in the world ending? Is this what's going on in this film? So I couldn't help but notice that and think about that. And because towards the end of the movie, when Captain America and Bucky are fighting, and Captain America is defending Bucky, and I can, going back to the second level, the narrative I totally understand. If someone had played with my friend's mind and now someone wants to kill my friend, I would want to protect my friend. So I can understand why Captain America is doing this, right? But in the end, Cap takes his shield and he breaks the little arc reactor on Iron Man, and he starts walking away with Bucky, who's been really really messed up in the fight. And at this point, Iron Man is losing it. He can't physically fight anymore, but the hatred is still there, and he's like, "Drop that shield. That doesn't belong to you. Belong to my father." It's a very, very touching scene, and Captain America is like, "You're right." He drops the shield, and there's an epic shot of the shield falling. Are they saying America's protection, the shield that protected America, is that shield also coming down? Is America as we know it being destroyed? Are America's defenses finally taken down? Um, Again, there's so much symbolism in this that, the devil is very clever at that, hiding the truth from us and giving us lies wrapped in partial truths. So that's how we get confused because things sound okay, things look okay, but they are not always okay. And that's where we have to be careful. So I really don't know what the producers were saying. A lot of this could be just me reaching, I don't know. But at least that's the message that I was getting, a very, very geopolitical, religious message there. There was more spiritual messages, I guess, in Age of Ultron with Vision. There was a line from Vision going back to the last movie that I didn't like as a Christian when Vision is like, I don't know if I'm machine or human, I just am. The only being in this universe that can say I am is God. It's Jehovah, is the one and only King of Kings. He's the only one that can say those words. So when they put these lines on other characters, um, it rubs me the wrong way as a Christian. So I didn't like that part. And on this movie, Vision does not play a big, big part. I think they're saving him for a big thing happening in the next movies. But there's a little reference to the third eye, like, I don't understand this. Uh, but it's in me, and I don't know if I control it or if it controls me, something like that. I don't remember quite well. Um, but again, that symbolism, esoteric symbolism. The third eye, the eye of Horus, the all-seeing eye. This is a little reference. I don't remember seeing a lot of pyramids though. That's what I'm saying. It's more Freemasonic than Illuminati, but two sides of the same coin. Um, but I saw a lot of Freemasonry in it. Um, so all of those things you got to take into account. Uh, so am I saying this movie is absolutely evil? I don't know. That's between you, the spirit that is between you and God. Is it a fun movie to go see? Definitely. It's a great movie to go see. It's a great fun movie filled with actions, characters that we grew up loving as kids. I pretended to be Spider-Man just as I pretended to be Superman. I would wrap a towel on my around my neck. I had a little red cape growing up, and I was Superman at times, and at times I was Spider-Man, climbing on walls, climbing on everything, going. Um, so we love these characters, and this movie is really, really fun. But if you take a step back, take a deep breath, and you let other things, you know, come into play, and you start analyzing these things, we see it more and more often in these movies, unfortunately. So the first two levels, they get wicked good. It's a really fun movie. It's very well told. It's really entertaining. You laugh. You have a great time. It's characters that you love, and it's a fun time for the whole family. Unless you want to take into consideration the third level, which is two thumbs down, at least from my perspective, because I really wanted to go as deep as I could and not just get the overall big message. This felt a lot like predictive programming, like, bad things happen. Um, we need the politicians to be involved. You can't just do whatever you want because there are consequences. Sounds a lot like civil liberties are about to be taken away from people, and we're supposed to be okay with it. I think that's the next level. That's what they're trying to do. So be careful with that, and I leave it up to you. Do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. Go and do your own research. There's tons of videos, documentaries, documents, and things that you can read, things that you can watch. Um, so I hope you found this video interesting and at least entertaining. Um, Happy Mother's Day to other mothers out there. And well, that's it for me. Till next time, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you at the movies.